any children in school anymore. I don't even have grandchildren in school anymore. Why am I being charged this exorbitant amount for property taxes?
Hey, I'm Monica Wilbur, and today I'm here with Kim Chandler, who is serving currently on the Granite District Board of Education. And we ran into this post today from Darrell Robinson. Apparently, Darrell Robinson is on the Jordan School District Board. And he makes some comments based on a news report that was put out by KUTV on the Utah school districts proposing property tax hikes for this upcoming school year.
Here we go. If your property taxes go up this year, your local school district may be one of the reasons why. At least 5 Utah school districts are proposing property tax increases for the upcoming school year.
Jim Spiewak looks at who's asking for more money and what it could mean for homeowners.
While the funds come from different buckets, money for the private school scholarship program, which is paid for with public tax dollars, is increasing, but so too is the request from several public school districts across the state.
I think many residents are realizing why they'll never own their own homes.
From the Wasatch Front to Central Utah, school districts are asking for property owners to pay more.
These things just can't be spent on because you think they might be a good idea. There needs to be more responsibility for these funds.
And his comments are referencing that article. He starts it off with this great big all caps headline, media, comma, misinformation. I'm not sure what the purpose of the comma is, but okay. So he's saying that there's some media misinformation here. And he makes the comment that says, I really like KUTV reporter Jim Spiewak, the guy who did the articles, but I wonder why he picks people who traditionally do not like our education system to interview in his story. Why not interview a school board member for his story instead of the president of the Utah Taxpayer Association and someone who ran for the state school board and lost? Okay, so I'm just going to address that little last part first. The person he's referencing there is moi. It is me. I'd like to make a really big clarification first. I was never interviewed by any reporter for his article. What happened was that I went to the Granite School District's meeting back in June, and I made a public comment as a patron because I live in Granite School District. I think that's still my right as an American. Am I right, Kim? Am I like, I still have a right to like say things even though I ran for the school board and did not win? I'm
100%.
Okay. Just want to make sure. I'm not like out there. Apparently, he really took offense to that. So, Kim, what's your reaction to Darrell Robinson kind of trying to say that, hey, reporters basically need to interview people who like the education system, not people who might have criticisms of it?
Oh, yeah, I mean, public education, as you know, Monica, has, for some people, seems to become a form of religion to them. So the moment that you commit that egregious sin of criticizing it, you become, as is alluded to in this post. I'm not sure if Mr. Robinson realizes his error or not, but he has basically stated that if you criticize public education, your opinion no longer counts, or you're dismissed as misinformed and uneducated, and you should not be consulted for your views on this topic. And this is a super dangerous attitude to have, frankly. It's honestly one of the reasons why I decided to run for school board when I did, was seeing that attitude in some individuals in the Loudoun County School Board who were being publicized in the media at that time. That attitude of the only ones who know anything or understand what's happening or have a voice are ones in those positions of power, and that's simply not true.
No, it's crazy. Last I checked, my taxpayer monies, my property tax monies, give me a say in that. We don't have a choice of whether that goes to the school system or not, but we definitely do have a choice as to how we feel about it. I would like to think that we still have that. And you too, as a taxpayer, and you've been on the board now for almost 4 years. So like 3.5 years. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So you've had a few of these tax discussions, I imagine, and you've listened to, I would imagine, more than a few taxpayers who did not agree with your tax hikes that have gone through at the board.
Absolutely. Every year there's different people every year coming out to comment and asking us not to raise taxes and explaining the burden that this is putting on them. Oftentimes it's the elderly who won't be able to continue to afford their homes that they have paid off.
Responding to the statement that you made in your interview on KUTV, where the interviewer asked you, well, there's people that are worried about your tax increase, and your comment, Superintendent Horsley, was who's worried about it? Well, I'm telling you, I go door to door. I've been running for mayor of my city, and it is the #1 complaint that citizens have. So I'm here to report that a lot of people are worried about it. I'm worried about it. I'm on a fixed income, and these increases hurt.
That they will lose them because they are forced to pay this rental fee, basically is what it amounts to the government for perpetuity. No matter how responsible they've been financially, they can end up losing their homes because of this.
I've lived in Utah all my life. I'm 81 years old. I'm on a very fixed income. My property taxes this year are going to be above $6,000. I haven't bought new shoes or new clothes in 5 years. I have had to borrow money to pay my property taxes for the last 4 years, and I'm going to have to borrow again this year to pay my property taxes.
No, I can't imagine expecting that type of conformity of opinion, especially from somebody who's in education, like, right? Isn't that the idea of education, is supposed to teach people how to freely think and to form their own opinions and to form those opinions based on facts. And the facts is we're being like taxed to death. We really are. I don't know how anybody can't see it, but every year that passes, it seems like we have to endure a whole new rash of taxes, whether it comes from the county level or from the state level or from the school district or from any number of special districts that have taxing authority. So this is something that affects everybody, whether they have kids in schools or not. You still have to pay for the schools. Unfortunately, not all that money necessarily is spent wisely. You've probably seen quite a bit of that as a school board member.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there are kind of two parts to this debate, this discussion about schools raising property taxes. And one is the mechanism itself, that the funding is coming through property taxes. I think this was used as a bit of a deflection in the Facebook post, not necessarily in the post itself, but in the comments down below it. The fact that in addition to income tax that's distributed out by the legislature, we fund public education through property tax in the state rather than some other means of taxation, say sales tax or something else. And sure, to address that item, yes, we need state legislators with the courage to change statute and eliminate property taxes, the existence of which is a complete abandonment of the government's actual duty to defend our individual rights to property ownership, in my opinion. So yes, I beg the Utah legislature to address this. Rather than being so focused on how to get around the constitutional earmark on income tax for the last several years, how about you put some effort into eliminating property tax? That would be far more valuable to the citizens of the state. It would be a monumental step in the right direction. It's worth every effort. That is all true. But for local boards to simply sit there and pass the blame to the legislature for creating the funding mechanism and then just leave it there is never going to solve the problem. I personally will not be bullied by the legislature into voting to raise property taxes. Local boards have to push back. They have to lobby the legislature, yes, but they also need to learn to operate differently. What is the upper limit of what you're going to ask? So I think it's mentioned in the news article, like, is there an upper limit? Because we feel like this is never going to end. There's an implication in the Facebook post that any school member, like I mentioned already, would support and defend property tax increases. But as a Granite board member, speaking for myself and not on behalf of my board, I am proof that that's not true. Many would, many don't. And public education is government. I've said this over and over. My concern as a sitting board member is that this aspect of government, public education, has become so big, so overreaching, so all-encompassing, so self-important, frankly. Education is important. It's very important, but it should happen in the right way and within the appropriate constraints. And the system really needs to trim down and figure out how to operate like the rest of us have to operate. But it can be done. It can be done well. As I've argued consistently on the board, let's move away from the expensive tech in schools. Let's move away from the millions and millions of dollars being spent focusing on teaching students to hyper-focus on their feelings. Let's commit to returning to a classical education model. Let's pursue alternative funding streams, reassess priorities, and on and on.